Today's video is about one of the most gruesome and violent cases you'll ever hear about. It includes disturbing details of extreme violence. I want to give a quick warning for anyone who may be sensitive to this kind of content, and also because many people may not be familiar with this case. Imagine being only 16 years old, bright, ambitious, with your whole future ahead of you, only to have it stolen in the most brutal way possible. This is the heartbreaking and shocking story of Junko Furuta, a Japanese high school student whose tragic fate became one of the most infamous cases in Japan's history. Junko Furuta was born in Saitama, Japan on January 18, 1971, and lived with her parents, an older brother and a younger brother. Junko attended Yashio Minami High School and was known as an outstanding student. She was the kind of daughter any parent would be proud of. Disciplined, responsible, and fully focused on her goals. Unlike most of her classmates, Junko wasn't interested in parties, alcohol, drugs, or anything that could distract her from her studies. She had no problem standing out from the crowd and saying no, even if that made her look uncool to others. Instead, she dedicated her time to school and a part-time job, saving money for her future education. She had already planned another job to support herself during university, showing just how mature and determined she was. She dreamed of becoming a singer. Because of her character and also because she was very beautiful, Junko attracted a lot of attention, especially from a boy named Hiroshi Miyano. Hiroshi wasn't just an ordinary student. He was the school bully. He often bragged about his ties to the Yakuza, Japan's organized crime syndicate, and used that reputation to intimidate others. People feared him, and he was used to always getting what he wanted. Eventually, Hiroshi decided he wanted Junko as his girlfriend, not for love, but simply for his own use. But Junko wasn't interested in him or any other distractions. Hiroshi developed a crush towards Junk, and when she turned him down, Hiroshi didn't take it well. He couldn't believe that anyone would ever reject him, and he took it as a complete insult. On November 25, 1988, Junko was riding her bicycle home when an unknown boy knocked her off. Moments later, Hiroshi conveniently appeared, pretending to help her and offering to walk her home. Relieved, Junko accepted. She didn't actually trust him, but it seemed better than the alternative of being attacked again. But instead of taking her home, Hiroshi led her to an abandoned warehouse where his attitude suddenly changed. He began yelling at her, telling from that moment on she would do everything he said. He reminded her of his Yakuza connections, threatening to kill not only her but also her entire family if she refused. Then he raped her. Later that night, Miyano took Furuta by taxi to a hotel in Adachi, where he raped her 3 more times. He then called his friends, Joe Ogura, Yasushi Watanabe, and Shinji Minato. That encouraged him to keep Junko captive so they could also abuse her. Around 3 a.m., Hiroshi brought her to a park, where the others were waiting. There Junko realized the boy who had pushed her off her bike earlier was Minato, meaning the whole scene had been staged so Hiroshi could play the role of her rescuer. The group decided that they could have a lot of fun to just set her free, and moreover, there was also the possibility that she would call the police to report what happened. The 4 boys found Junko's address in her belongings and used it to threaten her family. They told her they knew where she lived, and that the Yakuza would kill her family if she attempted to escape. They brought her to Minato's house at the 2nd floor, where she was forced to pretend she was his girlfriend. Shockingly, Minato's parents accepted the story and never intervened. They later claimed that they did not intervene because they were afraid of their own son, and probably to lose their good reputation. On November 27th, her family reported her missing, but Junko was forced to call home 3 times and say she had run away on her own, but was safe and staying with friends, convincing them to stop the search. And here begins the true devil. The guys forced Junko to become their toy. During her captivity, she endured unimaginable torture. She was raped dozens of times every day, beaten, and starved. According to the group's statements, the four shaved her pubic hair and forced her to dance naked to music in front of them. They beat her with golf clubs, metal rods, bamboo sticks, and had her head held against concrete ground and jumped on. The guys invited at home a lot of friends, acquaintances, and even strangers, often related to their Yakuza connections, in order to let them abuse her. For 44 days, Junko was raped more than 500 times by over 100 different people. On one occasion, she was assaulted by 12 men in a single day. Despite the abuses, she had managed to sneak a phone call to the police but was caught before she could say anything. As a punishment, the group repeatedly punched Junko in the face, and Miyano burned her ankles with a lighter. She would even beg them to just kill her, but they always refused. Due to her injuries, she had become unable to walk to the downstairs toilet and was confined to the room's floor in a state of extreme weakness. She vomited whenever she tried to eat, leading to severe dehydration. When she vomited, she was beaten further. Her appearance had been disfigured by the beatings, with her face becoming swollen to the point of unrecognizability, which eventually made the boys lose interest in her. This is the reason why the group decided to kidnap and gang rape another 19-year-old woman who was released afterwards, so being able to report the event to the police. Nevertheless, on January 4th, 1989, after losing money in a game of mahjong the night before, Miyano decided to take out his anger on Junko by pouring lighter fluid on her body and setting her on fire. With the little strength she had left, she tried to put out the flames. Instead, they continued to beat her, poured hot wax on her face, and forced her to drink her own urine. Because she was bleeding heavily and pus was oozing from her infected burns, the four boys put on plastic gloves before continuing to attack her, dropping barbell weights onto her stomach multiple times. The ordeal lasted for 2 hours, and Junko, exhausted from the relentless abuse, finally died. She was only 17 years old. The boys placed her body inside a 210-liter metal drum filled with fresh concrete and abandoned it near a construction site on the island of Wakasu in Koto near Tokyo. They might never have been caught if the 19-year-old girl they had attacked in December hadn't gone to the police. On January 23, 1989, Miyano and Ogura were arrested. When police interrogated Miyano, he falsely believed that Ogura had already confessed to Furuta's murder and that the police were aware of his culpability, so he told them where to find her body. The autopsy revealed she was pregnant at the time of death. But her face was so mutilated she had to be identified through fingerprints. In the end, all four boys were arrested. Because they were underage, their names were initially hidden, but journalists later revealed them, arguing that people capable of such crimes didn't deserve protection. They were Hiroshi Miyano, 18, Joe Ogura, 18, Nobuharu Minato, 16, and Yasushi Watanabe, 17. In court, they were tried as juveniles, and so they somehow avoided murder charges by pleading guilty to another kind of crime, the bodily injury resulting in death. In Japan, the juvenile court system is far more focused on rehabilitation rather than punishment, and that means that juveniles will end up getting relatively very low sentences. But someone said that the Yakuza connections could have played an important role. Miyano's parents sold their family home and paid Furuta's parents 50 million yen in compensation, about $350,000, $800,000 today, calculating the inflation, which their son's defense presented as a mitigating circumstance. After the appeal trial, Hiroshi received the longest sentence, 20 years. That is the second longest sentence imposed in Japan after a life imprisonment. Minato got a 5 to 7 year sentence. Watanabe got 9 years, and Ogura got an 8-year sentence. Meanwhile, Ogura's mother allegedly vandalized Junko's grave, stating that she had been the reason her son's life was ruined. In 2009, Miyano got released from prison. After his release in 2009, he changed his last name to Yokoyama. Furuta's offenders have served their sentences and are free as of 2025.